How's it? So let's talk about it. The movie that is Satafrika, all right? But let's start with number one on the call sheet. Okay, The Man, Him, The Equalizer, John Wick. Some say Batman, others say Captain South Africa. It doesn't matter what you call him. All we know is that, like Spider-Man, he understands that with great power comes great responsibility. All right, and we are speaking about Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who yesterday had a press conference and dropped one hell of a blockbuster movie, #1 at the box office. Okay, but before I get into this movie, I'd like to give you the cast of all who's involved and the powers that they have, which I hope will make it easier to understand who's right and who's wrong, right? So we'll start with Lieutenant Mkhwanazi, General. He is KZN Police Commissioner, right? He oversees operational policing in KZN and can authorize or maintain specialized units in his province. He does not require ministerial approval to sustain a task team unless explicitly overridden by the National Commissioner. Cool. Then we've got Lieutenant General Sibiya. He is Deputy National Commissioner. He oversees national crime detection operations, but only acts under direction from the National Commissioner. Remember this. He does not have independent authority to disband provincial or specialized teams without National Commissioner sign-off. Then we move on to who our National Commissioner of Police is, which is General Masemola. I think that is, I might have written that incorrectly. I apologize if I did. According to the SAPS Act, he has the final authority on national strategic decisions about the units and teams and generally anything that has to do with policing in South Africa. And then we have the main villain in our story, Senzo Mchunu, who is Minister of Police. The minister is the executive head of the department, but has no operational command over police investigations or teams. Remember that. Then we've got two villains, extras, his henchmen. We've got Brown Mkhotsi, Skebenga, and we've got Vusimuzi Kat Matlala, another Skebenga. Now that we have our cast, let's get into this movie. So yesterday, we were busy prepping our 7 colors, and then, the general said, hold on, add this side of corruption to your Sunday lunch, right? And he essentially came out in a press conference, which almost felt like a plea. This was on Sunday, the 6th of July, which almost felt like a plea, but also a show of strength. Like, I want to do my job, and these are the people that are stopping me from doing my job. He essentially confirmed that high-ranking politicians and members of the judiciary are involved in organized crime syndicates, especially related to the unaliving of political figures, as well as whistleblowers who are trying to unearth corruption, right? So where does this begin? It starts in 2018. If you recall, in the KZN, we had a lot of political figures being unalived, right? And so President Cyril Ramaphosa puts together a task team that is going to tackle politically motivated unalivings across the provinces, right? And so the boys get right into it. Avengers, unite. So from 2018 to 2025, the task team opened a total of 612 case dockets. The task team secured over 100 convictions, including 29 life sentences. So this task team is working, but then it gets too close to home. And when it gets too close to home, what happens? On the 31st, and I kid you not, on the 31st of December, while you were here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, happy, the task team was being disbanded. An order was sent through via the Minister of Police. And so essentially they said, pens down everyone, stop what you're doing. This task team no longer operates. Senzo then says they continue essentially to work a little bit, but on the 26th of March this year, 2025 then, 125 case dockets that were under investigation, these are his words, are taken away from the task team as directed by Deputy National Commissioner Lieutenant General Sibiya. Remember, he does not have the powers to do so. Who was acting on behalf of Senzo Mchunu to disband the team. Once again, another one does not have the powers to do so, right? So essentially what happened is that they then pulled all these cases that are related to who? Our two Skebengas, Kat and Brown Dash, right? So Kat and Brown Dash are starting to feel the heat. Okay, because as these investigations are happening around these people who have been unalived or corruption, etc., it's getting closer and closer to them because they have been getting awarded tenders in SAPS, right? And so they are essentially in the pocket of Senzo Mchunu or the other way around. Because according to Lieutenant Mkhwanazi, he believes that Brown Dash and Kat are financially supporting the political endeavors of Senzo Mchunu, right? And so he accused Mchunu of essentially being compromised as Minister of Police, of disbanding this team that he had no right to disband, and of being corrupt and trying to defeat the ends of justice, right? And this is how he caught him. Because you know what he had?
Receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, everything.
Exactly. So he said, first of all, how dare you? When we asked you about Brown Dash and Kat in Parliament, you said you didn't know who those niggas were. And now all of a sudden, here's the evidence. WhatsApps. Here's proof of you traveling with this one. But in Parliament, you lied and you said you didn't know these people when you were being questioned about these people, right? And lying to Parliament is the worst offense. You've broken your oath. Out with you. Off with your head, okay? And so, for example, Mkwanazi shared a text message where Brown, Dash, and Kat were speaking about how the task team that had harassed Matlala, who's Kat, had been dissolved. Okay, he brought more receipts. You have to watch the press conference. I can't get through it all, right? And so there's an example of a case that I want to use as to why this task team was so important. In 2024, a QTech employee was unalived after being mistaken for a whistleblower employee who was uncovering corruption in a Transnet tender. Ne? That investigation of that QTech employee who was unalived led to the uncovering, using ballistics. Law and Order fans, you're up. I'm not going to explain ballistics to you guys. To be linked to other high-profile cases. So the general in that movie he did yesterday also tells us there are also certain celebrities who are linked to the same weapon, who are linked to some of these suspects, who are affiliated to who? Senzo Mchunu, Minister of Police. So obviously today we got a variety of responses. The first one that I saw was from Fikile Mbalula, who said the general is bordering on lawlessness. And this is where my opinion has to come in now. So what they're going to do is they're going to Kansas City shuffle us, right? They're going to make us look left while they do things on the right. They're going to try and inundate us with the fact that the general didn't follow protocol, process. He should have sent this to General so-and-so and then to the National Commissioner and so on and so forth. But the general is quite literally saying the entire chain of command, except for the National Police Commissioner, what did we say his name was again? Masemola, who, according to Lieutenant Mkwanazi, number one, never authorized the disbanding of the task team. And remember, he's the only one who has the powers to do so. And number two, he was the one who stripped Kat, remember, Skibenga, of a 360 million rand tender with SAS, which was cancelled. So we've got two people on the good side. We've got General Mkwanazi and we've got the National Police Commissioner, Ufani Masemola. I think it's Masemola, but yeah. So they're going to try and disrupt us and say people didn't follow protocol. Hi, the protocol, the systems, the whole thing has been captured. It's broken. He had no choice but to come out and say, hey, South Africans, this is what's going on. And personally, I appreciate it. The ANC Youth League comes out of retirement, obviously only to ever defend corruption, and said days of statements and populism have ended. If he's got the evidence, he must arrest them. And and then Lieutenant Mkwanazi said, good shot. And then this morning, laid charges against Senzo Mchunu. So clearly he has the evidence to back up his chat yesterday. So that's that, ANC Youth League. Thanks for coming to the party. And then Senzo Mchunu himself said the Minister of Police will never allow his integrity, that of the ministry, or that of SAPS at large, to be made I forgot a word here, I can't remember. But anyway, without evidence or due process from anyone, including Lieutenant General Mkwanazi. We will be reviewing the provincial commissioner statements and consider appropriate action. Now, this is where we must be cautious, okay? Because I believe the general is in quite sitting nice, essentially, right? He's proven that he's a crime fighter, fighting crime, trying to save the You get me? He's cleaning up Durban. We might not all agree with his methods, but crime is being solved in that province, number one. So are they going to suspend him? If they suspend him, it kind of almost looks like they're co-signing corruption. Are they going to fire him? It no longer kind of feels like it is then a co-sign of corruption. And then if they unalive him, the entire executive, for me personally, and the judiciary has been compromised, and then that is the time South Africans have to take it to the streets. Okay, because we seemingly only have one person who wants to follow the law and due process, and he's being stopped at all ends, right? And so, for me, the reason he came out today, I think, or yesterday, is because it seems as if he feels like he's solidified his position enough that if anything were to happen to him, we would all riot, okay? And so, just to end with his parting words, as every Sterling would do, powerful words, he said, we will fight this until the end. I will not surrender the safety of our people to anyone. And to that I say, Amandala. And now we await Cupcake.